Now, he is an investing legend, a historic figure in the fields of business, politics, and philanthropy. George Soros telling outside clients in a letter that he is going to return their stake in his $25.5 billion firm, effectively ending a hedge fund career that has spanned 4 decades. Well, my next guest has profiled Soros, his investment style, and his future in the world. And the book is called The Sages. We're joined now by the business writer, former banker, and lawyer, Charles Morris. Charles Morris, good to have you with us on Bloomberg. Now, in doing your research and accumulating your notes for the section in the book on George Soros, were you struck by his ability to almost intuitively divine things in the world that mere individuals can't see?
And people would often ask me, well, how does he invest? And the answer is he just seems to know. Somehow his whole brain quivers to these mystic forces. And and he told me once that, because he once kept a detailed diary of how he invested, and he would outline what his real strategy was. And he said when he did that, he did much worse, because if he actually wrote it down, then he would think that was his real plan, and he worked much better when he just let it flow. And it's a very interesting guy, and different from a Warren Buffett or any of the other great investors, because and he would also, most of the time, his portfolio was totally global, and he could see something. I mean, he could balance out what was going to happen with the mark, with the yen, what the dollar was going on, what Ronald Reagan was doing, and he would see it. And then he would, and also, when George invested, he would invest his whole fund often. I mean, he did not take small bets. And again, contrary to almost anyone else who tells you how you're supposed to invest, he didn't follow any of the rules of diversification. It all had a plan, and then he would be wrong, and so he'd stop it and just take his losses and go on to the next thing. He wrote once in detail about this horrible time he'd had. He'd called everything wrong, and I went through all the results, and he somehow ended up with an 18% gain. And what he was really looking for was 42%.
Last question for you. Politics, philanthropy, George Soros, you can't separate that from his investment profile.
Well, he thinks about it the same way, but there he's got a real strategy, though, the open society strategy. And that's driven everything he did in the Middle East and South Africa and so forth. You have to have open participation. And that's a great thought.
All right, we've got to leave it there, but I want to thank you very much, Charles Morris, the author of the book, The Sages, wonderful sections on Warren Buffett, as well as, of course, George Soros. Thank you very much for your insights. Appreciate your time.